Hello, I'm Victoria Fritz. Let's take a look at how markets are faring at the moment. And global stocks are very much rallying today, along with commodities and also the Mexico peso, on speculation that Hillary Clinton's chances of a US election win have increased after the FBI said her handling of emails wasn't a crime. Now, demand for things like safe havens have waned, with the Japanese yen and gold retreating, breaking a 7-day rising streak. Now, in terms of the individual indices, the S&P 500, look at that, halting its longest slide since 1980. European shares also climbing from a 4-month low. In terms of what's going on the FTSE 100, it was HSBC that was the standout performer today, on track for the bank's biggest daily gain in 7 months after reporting a real jump in its core capital ratio, which is a sort of a measure of its financial health and security. And that boosted the outlook for near-term dividend payments, which is basically meaning income to shareholders might be coming sooner than expected. And amongst some of the fallers, this was one of the big fallers. This is Tesco, of course. The grocer shares in the grocer retreating off at Tesco Bank temporarily suspended online transactions after around 20,000 customers had money removed from their accounts. You'll recall this is a story that's been around over the weekend as well. There was an attack by fraudsters over the weekend. Now, let's speak now to Helal Miah, who is at the Share Centre for us in Aylesbury. Let's start with this Tesco story. Just how damaging was this sort of attack by fraudsters to the bank as a business?
Yeah, so not very encouraging for Tesco's as a whole. It's going to have a reputational damage. We all know what happened several years ago with the accounting scandal. So the negative vibe amongst consumers, investors, is going to continue with this one. Although I think the charges or the amounts taken out of the accounts were quite small. You know, it's affected about 20,000 different accounts and customers. So there's a fairly huge number of people who have been affected, and obviously they will need some kind of compensation or the funds that were taken out to be paid back in. So it's going to cost Tesco's, but I think overall it did have a negative impact. But let's not forget that the bank is still a relatively small portion of Tesco's overall business. But you know, it's something that was very much unwelcome.
Yeah. Let's talk about HSBC. This is a curious one. This is the bank that has been very much retreating from lots of different types of businesses, lots of different countries since 2011, announcing an 86% fall in its profits today, yet shares are up 4.6%. What's going on?
Yeah, so the reported profit was down heavily, as you said, down by about 86%. And that was really down to one-off items. We've had ongoing PPI issues over here in the UK. We've had compensation payments made in America. They wrote off, or they made a loss. They wrote a loss on one of the Brazilian businesses that they sold. But overall, the underlying performance is what we're looking at. And the underlying performance was actually good. So profits rose by about 7% there. And banks such as HSBC and most of the others have been cutting back on costs quite a bit, and this is what we've seen. The underlying performance and the costs have actually fallen quite substantially. So that's very good news. And you mentioned with regards to the capital ratio, that was also quite encouraging, just above 13%. So it's better than what markets had anticipated. And also the other key thing is HSBC, a lot of investors are buying into that because it's a very good yielding stock. And the management indicated that the dividend will continue at 10 cents at the moment. So very encouraging there.
And very briefly, what's going on with financial markets? We've seen a big rally today. Does that mean that Hillary Clinton is more likely to win or not?
Well, that's what the market seems to think, and it is pricing in the bigger chance of Hillary Clinton winning. So as of Friday, the futures markets and betting companies priced in a chance of about 25% for Trump to win after the email issues were partly resolved, I guess, over the weekend by the FBI. Trump only stands for a 20% chance of winning. So markets really don't like uncertainty. They would prefer to have Clinton in there instead of Trump, and they've rallied on the back of that. So the equity markets around the world, all the indices seem to be up about 1.5%, and currencies such as the peso are doing fairly well.
Helal Miah, thank you very much. And just one more story quickly before I go. The value of merger and acquisition deals between UK companies has plunged 62% to a 30-year low since the vote to leave the EU. That's according to Thomson's Reuters data. Now, foreign purchases of British firms have also slumped 69%. That's it from me. Plenty more coming up tomorrow. See you soon.